WanChung, and you can call me Dong. My Chong is 中间的 Chong. And I used to be a member of Neihu Toastmasters so back to 2018. And then I came to Australia last year. So that's why I left. Yeah. And then in terms of my cross-culture experience, so now I'm working in Sydney, Australia. And my team and my manager, I can say it's a very cross-culture combination. So for instance, my boss, it's an Argentinian born Australian. And, and my colleague has lots of nationalities like Singaporean, Indian, British, Australian, Malaysian, Iranian, and what else? Chinese, maybe?
Taiwanese.
Yeah, Taiwanese. Yeah, and also Russian. Yeah, so lots of combination, and I think that's part of the experience because that when we talk about cross culture, we often talk about the culture in the States, but then apparently that's not the whole world. So I think Australian definitely given us this opportunity since it's actually a quite, I would say, quite immigrant society since their size is like uh, many times bigger than Taiwan, but their population is almost the same as Taiwan, like 20 million people. Yes. But their smallest island, Tasmania, is actually twice as big as Taiwan. Where on that island is just 500,000 people there. So 500,000 people is about the population in WanChung. So then you can imagine WanChung people live across whole Taiwan. So crazy big say. Yeah. So back to the topic. Why this topic resonate with me a lot is because first of all, I need to like survive and grow in this working environment. Secondly, I also realized that learning English is just part of the communication. Just like even though we all speak the same language, we have different philosophy and we believe in different things. I believe you know what I'm talking about when you're talking to our neighbors. Yeah. So I think this is something that very worth to talk about. So I had a chance to actually join this course and this course called Cross Cultural Communication. And this course is actually led by a professor. So she was born in Greece, but then she moved to the state and then finished her study and then became a professor and also started her own business. So she likes to do exercise and she started to start a gym business. Yeah. So she started to realize that there's actually many different aspects when we talk about cross-culture communication. And I thought it's quite useful. And also when I think about my work experience, I found those quite similar of my quite similar comparing to my daily work life. So I thought just to share with you. Yeah. So first of all, I want to start with things, very high level things. It's like so across culture, there's actually high context culture versus low context culture, and because I just learned this after I learned this course, so I want to share to you. So basically, what this means is that when we start a conversation with someone new, there's actually something hidden that we don't need to say much about, but then we assume like everyone knows. So can give you some example like when you sitting in a group of Japanese, usually they know that senior people should talk first. So something like this. Or you go to a drink party in Korean, then usually the senior should pay the bill. So something like that. And so for this, we call this like high context culture. And normally it happens for those country or culture has a long history, and that's how they develop this style. And then in contrary, there's also low context culture, like those immigrant countries like US, Australia, Canada. So since people coming from different backgrounds, so there's no such kind of social norm that I will say, and people kind of more direct in the things they want, and they don't assume that people will understand your needs. Yeah. So these are high context culture and low context culture. I found it quite important to know because I had lots of example I can share with you while I had one with my manager. Yes, I can share with you later. Yeah. So yeah, then I think I've been talking a lot, so I'm also quite curious about you. So first of all, why you are interested in this workshop? Are you planning to do some cross culture activities, maybe work, study, or like cross cultural romance? Or yeah, is there something you want to know more about from this workshop? So that I can start first and then we go, okay? So I heard one of our team members shared about Taiwanese working culture and mentioned about we are usually work overtime and we have less vacation and we get paid less. So basically cheap labor. And I want to share with you, this is actually not 100% true because now I'm working with APAC team. So like Singapore, Malaysia, Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia, in general, right? And what I found is all Chinese culture country work hard. Like, because you probably know that Chinese culture are across Vietnam, Singapore, and Malaysia, and some Thai colleagues as well, and they work overtime even more when I work in Taiwan side. So then it's like whole APAC team would work overtime and like reply my email in some ridiculous time, 2 a.m. or something. Yeah. So I think this is true, but it's not in Taiwan. I think it's in general. And that last vacation, hey, I can definitely share about this because now I work with Singapore team and also Australian team, and I can tell you that actually Taiwan has more public holidays comparing to these two countries. Because for Australian and Singapore, this year I think they only got 10 public holidays, but Taiwan actually get more. How about a PTO? PTO? Yeah. What is that? Annual leave. This annual leave is actually by country because, well, by law, I think Taiwan has less. I won't argue with that. I think in Taiwan by law, we have like 7 days. Yeah. And then Australia by law has 20 days. But then it also depends on each company if they want to give you more, right? So I know many like multinational company branch in Taiwan, they also give 20 days. So yeah. Yeah, so just want to share the thing I've observed regarding the work overtime and also the vacation. And the pay, yeah, last thing about pay. I think when you're talking about pay, you can compare the after tax pay. Yeah, because really, I don't think the pay in Taiwan is ridiculous high unless you are reaching like 4 million above. Yeah. Like in Australia, it's quite easy to reach 20% of income tax more. So, like imagine um, when you receive your salary, it's already 20% off. Like
That sounds awful.
and you know, 20% is like for their working holiday colleague. So if you are like white collar, like it's even higher. And one thing is that in Taiwan, when we pay income tax, we pay by the end of year, right? Like in June or July. But in Australia, they don't even let you touch it. That when you receive your salary, it's already after tax.
Wow. Okay.
Something to share? Okay. Does anyone want to share?
So when we when we discuss around the over number,
Always before tax.
Before Okay. You can learn. It's before tax.
Nothing more, then let's continue, okay? Yeah, so the third point that I would like to share is the status versus equality. And I observed this also throughout my experience, right? So in some society, they prefer to have hierarchy, like senior, junior, boss, member. And in some others, they rather not. And I can give you a good example since I'm using a German company, and German company is from a more status culture. And so my boss well, they always wear suit, and they prefer you call it Mr. Like Mr. Herman, Mr. something, and you shouldn't call their name. That's rude. Yeah. Well, now I'm working in the American company, and our CEO will wear a polo shirt to join the press conference or sign a business contract with anyone. Polo shirt plus jeans.
Jobs.
Huh?
Jobs fan. Steve Jobs
yeah.
fan.
So one example coming from the suits and how you should call them. And another one can be also the office style. So back to my German company experience that the general manager will have a big office, others just stay in a very small cubicle. Well, now the company I am, like GM also, like the country manager also sits in the cubicle, like all of us, and he preferred us to call him name, to call his name, but not like Mr. something. So this is quite interesting and worth to take note while you are interacting with different cultures. So that you know you how to treat them and be polite. And one thing about and the next I want to come to this relationship versus role. And this is also quite interesting. Um, that in some culture they look relationship quite deep, and especially for those country or culture has long history. Uh, so I guess you can see lots of in East Asian culture, like I do business with you because I know your father or something like that, or I can be a CEO of one company because it's more like, okay, if we cannot solve this, then we ask lawyer come to solve it. So it's quite easy to jump into the low procedure comparing to, I think in Taiwan, that when we talk about, okay, let's call the police or the lawyer, it's quite threatening, right? Like we don't like to solve things through this way. Yeah. So these are also quite different. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So about this too. Now it's your turn to share if you have any experience around this.
Okay.
Okay. Status and equality, relationships and roles that you can share either if you have any experience to treat these two different culture, or if not, you can share what do you think your culture is, which category you belongs to. They like to wear luxury brands and to drive luxury cars and live in big house. And I used to kind of think why people shampoo. But then after I learned this, I learned the context. I learned the sentence that these shampoo people actually want to say is that even though I don't say anything, you should respect me. Yeah. So after learning this, I don't feel shampoo is that weird anymore. Just to share that it's nothing right or wrong. It's just okay. So next, risk and restraint. And also these two are between cultures with shorter history or longer history. So for culture in longer histories, usually are more restrained. So for example, in Greek culture or in Chinese culture or like in Indian culture, people or like the company are more conservative because they've been through so many bad things like war or revolution, so that they know they should respect something. Whereas in more like immigrant countries, they like to take risk because risk is what makes them successful, right? So going to a brand new land to start their whole family and life. Yeah. So these are two different approaches, and it has also impact different organizations doing the business. Some company they are very willing to hire people not from the same background or join new field. While in some other companies, they do care about where this person graduated or which industry this person coming from. So these are quite different. And next, I want to talk about time. And time is actually a eye opener for me because I live in a because I work in a culture like we do quarterly planning, yearly planning, and we do weekly review of business, and we plan our calendar like 9 to 10, 10 to 30, 10:30 to 12. Like I literally have normally I have like 8 to 10 meetings every day. So we follow the clock. It's like we want to control the time. Yeah. And I thought this is like universal. I thought all the company works like this. But then actually not. There's actually another kind of culture that they don't do things like this way. So like in Latin American culture or for some southern part of European culture, that they don't like to do things by like first one item and then two blah blah blah, but they would like to understand more about the context. Like when they are talking about project, then they want to talk about right, and they want to about okay, so what? So not about the action you want to complete, but then the whole story behind. Yeah. So these two culture has different has totally different idea and concept regarding time. So when having meeting with these two different cultures, that you can see that they are more difficult to agree on something because they care about different things. Yeah. And the last part, which is the external locus of control versus internal locus of control. So in Mandarin, this called WanChung, and this called Neihu. Yeah. And this term is actually coming from psychology. So for the external locus control people, they believe that they are in charge of everything. Like everything is within their control. Sorry, I told
Opposite.
the opposite way. Yeah. So this is for 内控者. And for the 外控者, they believe that there are many things not within their control. Yeah. And one perfect example can be when a candidate fail in job interview. What will the 内控者 say? They probably say that I'm not good enough because I'm not preparing well. Yeah. Whereas for the 外控者, they will say, that's because the competitors are too strong, or it's because the interviewer sucks. Yeah. So this is not only the culture difference, but also the personalities. Yeah. So I guess you can think about yourself and the people around you that some of them are 内控 and some of them are 外控. Yeah. Have you think about your 内控 or 外控? Because I found this quite interesting that different culture actually develop very different things from here. So for instance, in Greek culture, that they have long history, so they believe that many things are outside of their control. So that's why they depends on their god, they relies on their god. So when they hope something happen in a good way, then they say God willing. Whereas in the Neihu culture, like in the States, that's lots of do-it-yourself books or like lots of self-help books. As people believe that they can control everything, that they can train themselves to be a better version, something like that. Yeah. So think about yourself or your culture. You are more 内控 or 外控. When talk about time, you are more like a linear, so believes everything should be at clock, or more like understanding context and why and how. And also in terms of risk and restraint, think about your company or culture, willing to take risk, or better to follow the rule, follow the procedure. Today I've shared the 7 check, and then finally I want to talk about how this actually helped me. So I think I can summarize in a couple of points, right? So first of all, it's that just as I mentioned, there's no right or wrong culture. So when we grew up from our own culture, we tend to wear our own glasses. So we thought that other cultures are weird or strange. Yeah, but then while we use this systematic way to analyze it, you can realize, okay, just like we have people with all kinds of personalities. So there's no right and wrong in it. And second, it is don't take it personally. So like I myself, right, I'm now working across culture group. while I joined 2 years ago, I often feel overwhelmed, like totally, like why my boss saying something so straightforward, or why my colleagues just don't get the thing that I'm trying to say. But then I gradually realized that don't take it personally, that they are not doing it because they have bad feeling about me. It's just because that's their culture, that they like to say things directly, and I say things sometimes too polite. So then I think team heard me share once, right? So that I had a conflict with one of
Mhm.
my colleague, and then I gradually learned how to be more upfront, more direct. So now we're like, we will never be friends. We are very comfortable in like making plans together and thinking of winning strategy, and and we would cover each other. And I think that's good enough for the working relationship. Yeah.
Mhm.
So just this idea helped me really to understand there's no right and wrong, and don't let something or someone to hurt your feeling personally, because it's not about you. Yeah. And then last but not the least, so I know that some of you are would like to work aboard. So if you are interested to like chat with me or like to discuss, feel free. And then I also have a personal blogs. Yeah, so just feel free to search Zhonghu BT, and then I do publish newsletters each week, and I have podcasts because I'm a proud startup, so that I want to share this information for people who stutter, or like for people who cared about who stutter. Yeah, so feel free to follow me, and yeah, it's a pleasure to meet you all. I hope you have a nice evening.